Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to we make JavaScript again in Rails, whatever that means. First, a bit about me. My name is Guillermo. I came from Colombia. I'm a member of Rails core team, and I work for Cookpad as search engineer. And you can find me on Twitter on GitHub as Guillermo Iguaran. Okay, first a small ad. So in Coupa, we are hiring just in case someone is looking for a job. We have one of the biggest REST application in the world. Yeah, some of the engineers in Coupa are like a member of Ruby core team. For example, uh, like Sora, also Akira Matsuda, and recently the top Ruby committer, the Koichi Sasada, also started working for Coupa. So if you want to join the team, we have open positions, both for the international team and for the team in Japan. Okay, first I want to talk a bit about the history of how the front end and JavaScript, how have been the story between Rails and JavaScript. So in the first version of Rails, the basic we use prototypes and Scriptaculous and RGS2 for JavaScript. Maybe some of you can remember about prototype. Yeah, that's a very old one. Yeah, like you can read here, the main purpose of prototype was it adds useful extension to the browser scripting environment and provides elegant APIs around the clumsy interface of Ajax and the document object model. So it was basically like a way to write JavaScript, but it looks a bit like a Ruby, so you don't have to handle to file with browsers and do some. Yeah, it was a JavaScript, but a bit more beautiful because it looks like a Ruby. Or it was the main purpose. By the way, the last version of prototype was released like 7 years ago, so the development of it stopped way long time ago. And we had also a Cryptaculous. It was like a plugin for prototype that we used to make like effects, yeah, to make the website more like a live. I had like an animation and things like that. Also, the last version of the last minor version of the Critaculo was released like 7 years ago, so I think it is not being developed anymore. And the third thing that we had in Rails was RGS. What RGS? Basically, it was like a kind of DSL to write JavaScript using Ruby. So you don't have. So the main purpose of Rails was avoiding to touch JavaScript, basically. Yeah. The start of one show is RGS, JavaScript writing in Ruby. Is the perfect antidote for your JavaScript blues. The way to get all justified without leaving the comfort of your beloved Ruby. And how this look at, so you have a code like that. So you can put animation, use delay, you can use selectors, and you can do replacement in the document. And yeah, you can call visual effects and you can call JavaScript, everything from Ruby side. So I think like the main purpose of Rails was still being, no, we don't want the developer to write JavaScript, so let's do everything in Ruby. Meanwhile, in JavaScript land, jQuery was created in this year, yeah, and become, I mean, jQuery become like the standard or the JavaScript industry, like I think maybe in a couple of years. It was like a prototype, but you don't have to, it doesn't look like a Ruby, so it looks like it's JavaScript, it's improvement over JavaScript, but it's still looking like a JavaScript. So it was quickly adopted by all the JavaScript community. And in this year, also a new version of NCA script was released after 10 years. Yeah, the last one was in the last, before that, I think that it was in 1999, I think. The last one was ES3, so they were like planning to release a ES4 with support for classes, for modules, for generators, iterators, type annotation, but it was like a big breaking change. So they decided to abandon ES4 and instead they started working in a new version. They call it ES 3.1, but then they renamed it like a ES5. Also in this same year was released Node.js. Yeah, this Ryan Dahl was working from Hoyen and they decided to start working in Node.js like an alternative to do server development. So 1 year later came Rails 3.0. That was like the version that merged with Rails. Yeah, the main features in the front-end side or JavaScript side in this version was the unobtrusive JavaScript and the support for alternative JS frameworks. Well, the UGS was done through a plugin named jQuery UGS. And the support for alternative JS framework, as you might remember, one of the things that Mer had is that it wasn't coupled to any like database adapter. So you can with Mer you can use anti-record or you can use also data mapper. And yeah, I think that one of the purpose or the main goals of the merge between Rails and Mer was to make Rails a bit more modular. So you don't have to depend in a specific framework for views. So you can use HAML instead of RRB. You can use RSpec instead of test unit, and you can start using also alternative JS framework to prototype. So along with this version was released jQuery Rails and other plugins like Motul Rails, Dojo Rails, and others. And okay, and Prototype was moved to their own gen named Prototype Rails. That still was shipping in default in this version. But if I remember correctly, everyone in the community started like, no, take the new generated application and delete the Prototype Rails and replace it with jQuery Rails. Yeah, because in this year, jQuery was already the standard in all the industry. Okay, and then that's kind of the 3.1 version. The 3.1 version was like the biggest change that we had in the front end since the start of Rails. So the 3.1 version came with the Rails as a pipeline that included like sprockets, and it integrated the CoffeeScript, SAS, and jQuery was finally made the default for JavaScript. So Sprocket is like was like a library done by Basecamp. And yeah, basically Sprocket is like the one that takes the assets, take the JavaScript and create like it concatenates the assets and it minifies the assets and it had like it had like a modular system for JavaScript development. So we started integrating Sprocket in Rails. I mean, I started to work as contributor, working in the integration of Sprocket inside of Rails. But when the release day or release 3.1 was near, we had like having a lot of issues related to the asset pipeline. So I started working in all those issues. As a result, I had like I think like a 30 commits in Rails like in 5 days, and mostly were I think were a lot of both pieces in Sprocket, a lot of things that were broken. Yeah, I think like in 1-2 weeks I had a lot of commits and many more. And we had in 1 month I remember that we had like 3 or 4 RC version of Rails. Okay, we had here in August we had the RC6, RC7, RC8, and we finally released the 3.10 in August 31. But it still work. It is still broken. So that was a message from DHS to me. Okay, thank you for your work on this. We are definitely running with Scissor, trying to make all those changes just before closing the time with a little no testing. I guess the golden pass still work and the singular confusion isn't the end of the world. But let's not do this again. If there are major changes like this at the last minute, we'll just have to buy the bullet and the layer release further. So we released the Rails as a pipeline, but we noticed that it was broken like 5 minutes later of the release. So yeah, we had to fix it in the next version. And another thing that was included with that version of Rails, if you remember, is CoffeeScript. So CoffeeScript was like a very polemic change. It was just a couple of commits, but it had like 300 comments in that commit. And quickly it becomes like a version of 4chan inside of GitHub. Yeah, there was a lot of comments, a lot of images. And the last big change that we did is we finally switched to jQuery as the default. After like 2-3 years of delay, we finally was catching up with the community. Okay, and the next version that had like a change related to the assets or JavaScript was the Rails 4.0. And what we included in Rails 4.0 was just turbulence. So everyone in the JavaScript community was talking about Ember.js, Angular, single-page applications, as another thing, and we just had turbulence. Yeah, that's it from the release notes. A big focus has been on making it this simple to build modern applications that are screaming fast without needing to go to client-side JSON server route. Much of this work was pioneered for Rails in the new version of Basecamp. And you can read also the number 2, speed up in the client side with turbulence, which essentially turns your app into a single page JavaScript application internal speed, but with none of the development drawback, except maybe, not definitely not maybe, compatibility issues with some existing JavaScript package. So everyone was like in the future, in that moment, everyone was talking about other things in JavaScript, and Rails was like, no, we don't like JavaScript, so we can use just turbulence to continue avoiding JavaScript. And what will it be, why? Okay, that is the question. Why still avoiding JavaScript in 2030? So JavaScript, that was what was done in JavaScript in that year. ESC was almost ready. The final version was planned to be released in December 2013. IE 10 and 11 supported already ES5. That means that you can write code in ES6 and use Babel to transfer the code to ES5, and it will work it worked in Internet Explorer. The JavaScript community had already a great ecosystem for front-end development. They had Webpack, they had Babel, they had Gold, Browserify, and many other things. And in this year, the most popular framework, the JavaScript framework were Backbone.js, AngularJS, Ember.js, and Bower and NPM already existed and had a lot of packages. So we in Rails didn't have anything of that because we still avoiding JavaScript. Okay, we started to notice that we can continue avoiding JavaScript all the time. And for example, Bower and NPM was way better than the way that we were using to manage the front-end asset. Yeah, because in Rails the way was like, for example, let's suppose that you had a library name underscore, so you had to create a gen name on like a underscore Rails, and then you take the JavaScript library and put it inside of the gen, and then you need to release it to Ruby gens, and you need to do everything all again when a new version of the JavaScript library comes out. So it wasn't like a good workflow to get the JavaScript library. So we decided that, well, maybe we can integrate Bower on NPM. And we decided to go with, in that year, we decided, well, maybe we can try to integrate Bower. So let's use Bower. Why Bower? At the time, Bower had more packages than NPM. Bower was like a most focused in the front-end asset development. And Sprocket already has some support for Bower because one of the authors of Sprocket, this Josh Pick, he worked with the Bower team. So Sprocket already supported, already understood the structure of Bower package. But at the end, there is some reason to not use Bower in Rails. Why? Because some members of our record team have like a kind of Node-phobia, so no, we can use Bower because Bower depends on Node.js, and we can ask the users to install Node.js. And there was another discussion at the time that, okay, why use Bower and not NPM? Bower was more popular at the time, but NPM was growing way more than Bower. So at the end, we did nothing. So the Bower integration project started, and we continued working in the same way that we did like for years. And okay, meanwhile, the JavaScript community is still evolving. Node.js become like the most attractive option for new projects for front-end development due to the Rails rich ecosystem. In Node, you have Bower, NPM, Grunt, Gold, Webpack, Browserify, and many other tools to work with front-end. In Rails, you have CoffeeScript, jQuery, TurboLinks, and UEJS. So the last year we decided, okay, maybe we can see that again. Maybe we can maybe we can find a better way to work with the assets. So I write to the other members of Rails core team that I was interested in the idea to make JavaScript good again in Rails, and I was assigned that task. The name of the task originally was making JavaScript in Rails great again, but it was like a joke at the time, but it just stopped being funny when Trump won the election, so the task was renamed to JS Dependency Revamp. So basically, the task consisted in 4 parts. First, stop depending on jQuery because the last year you just didn't need jQuery for anything. You had everything that is done by jQuery can be done with vanilla JavaScript. So we must stop depending on jQuery, start integrating Yarn in new apps. Why Yarn? Because Yarn had something that we like that was the log file. So it will look at a lot like a bundler. And we decided that we need to start supporting other modern transpiler beyond CoffeeScript, so we wanted to support Babel and TypeScript, and we needed to support modules in Sprocket. So a couple of weeks later, I came with some results. Okay, so we removed jQuery Rails from the default stack. We replaced the jQuery UGS with a new vanilla version of the library named Rails UGS, and we integrated it inside of the Rails. We integrate Yarn in new apps. It was first emerged like an option. So you had to pass the option to the new apps to support Yarn, but then it was like making a default. So any new Rails 5.1 app came already with Yarn support. And Sprocket already supported Babel at the time, so I didn't have to do so much to support that. And one thing that was really hard to do was the support for modules in Sprocket. So because Sprocket, you don't have, everything was like exported like a global in the browser, so we don't have like a support for MDA or CommonJS or nothing like that looks like a real JavaScript module system. So I decided to write back to DHH. I write this message in the thread, adding support for ES6 modules to Sprocket isn't a trivial task. That will be like rewriting a big part of Webpack in Ruby. Shopify is using the Sprocket commander to do it using Node.js and Babel underneath, but if we will require Node.js anyway, I would prefer to test how we can make this work with Webpack directly, and then we can start departing from the toolset of the JavaScript community. And yeah, I got an applause from DHA, so that means that it was approved to follow the Webpack road. So at the time I started reading about Webpack. I read a lot of blog posts about how to integrate Webpack with Rails. Yeah, we created a lot of like a demo application. I started showing the application to David to get feedback. And a couple of weeks later, we had Webpacker. Yeah, it was like the final solution to get Webpack integrated with Rails. Yeah, and then Webpacker was made like an option in the last version of Rails, and in the release note for the 5.1, DHA wrote this. Loving JavaScript. We had a stormy, perhaps even contentious relationship with JavaScript over the years, but that time is past. JavaScript has improved immensely over the past few years, particularly with the advent of ESCs and with package and compilation tools like a Yarn and Webpack. Rails is embracing both of these solutions with open hands and letting whatever past weather flow under the bridge. JavaScript and Ruby share a deep philosophical bond over language design, not the ecosystem management. Let's focus on the aspect we have in common and help Rails programmers extract the best from JavaScript with the help of some key guiding conventions. So we stop like hating JavaScript. We embrace JavaScript. Yeah, because that was like was like for me was like a common sense. We can be avoiding JavaScript during all the life. So yeah, we started loving JavaScript. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Thank you.